Good morning, everyone. How are you guys doing today? Hi, Jordan Olive. Good to see you. It's been a while. Hi, Libby. Good morning. Good morning. Guys, before we get too far into this, actually, let me give Libby a shout out. She has been making some amazing creations in her Shopify. She's been a member of our community for quite a long time, and you will see her Shopify link dropping throughout this live stream. None of this comes to me. This is all something simply to support one of our family members. She has been here for, like I said, a long time. This is her shop, Libby Creations at myshopify.com. For those of you guys who are interested, she does have different tumblers, t-shirts, car coasters, earrings. She can custom make you something if you guys need something, that maybe isn't quite what you're seeing here as far as like t-shirts and things like that go. She also does have the Sleuth Mom merch on her Shopify as well, simply to speed up the process. A lot of people were having difficulties getting things through Teespring, and honestly, we donated all of the money proceeds from Teespring anyways to different organizations. So this way, it simplifies things for you guys, and you are able to get this awesome merch from somebody local from our community. And yeah, so here's her shop if you guys are interested. Let me drop this again. Hi, Mama Four. How are you? I do want to talk about, guys. I'm not sure how many of you guys have been following both of these cases. I'm sure most of you have, as far as Harmony Montgomery goes and Elijah Vu. We know that Elijah's remains, they were confirmed to have been found this past week. We have not yet seen any criminal charges be filed as far as how his death was caused. Because of the state of of his remains whenever they were located, I am concerned that, maybe we won't see full, complete justice in his case. I have a feeling that we will. However, there's always that chance that his mom and her boyfriend are going to get off on lesser charges than what they deserve. Hi, Cooter G. How are you? Hi, Holly. Good to see everybody coming in today. Yeah, been a long time working a lot. Me too. So, Mama Four, I'm sure you can relate. But not only am I working full time and things like that, but also we have sports. We're in the sports season of life. So right now, 5 days a week, we are at extracurricular activities. I honest to goodness do not know how anybody on this platform that has their own channel or even just as a viewer is able to watch and live a full-time parenting lifestyle. Props to those of you who are able to go live for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, 8 hours at a time and have children, especially the few of you guys who are single parents still living on YouTube. I don't know how you do it. Like I said, we have soccer, we have baseball, we have uh, heritage girls and trail life and rifle, and we have all of the different sports. Plus, I homeschool. Plus, I work full time. So, bear with me, guys, as we get our schedule going and try to get some type of normality into when I'm able to upload and things like that. I know that some of you guys have been disappointed because whenever my kids were a little bit younger, and we did a little bit less sports, I was able to be live more often, but it's just not something that I can constantly be live about. But anyways, enough about me. Um, so to refresh you guys on the case of Elijah Vu, I put a 1 in the chat if you guys are familiar with Elijah Vu's case. We'll start with Elijah, only because I know that talking about Crystal Sorey in Harmony Montgomery's case is going to infuriate me, and I'll likely lose track of what I'm wanting to say and what I'm wanting to convey during this live. And so um we'll save Harmony towards the end. So put a 1 in the chat though if you've been following Elijah Vu's case, if you know about him and his mom and his mom's boyfriend and all of those things. Okay, so a couple of you guys. Hmm. So let me pull up this article because I feel like discusses a good bit of the information about the arrest documents without me actually pulling up the arrest documents themselves. Let me preface this by saying that we do not know that Katrina was directly connected to the murder of Elijah Vu. We don't even know if his death is going to be considered murder yet at this point. All we know is that his remains were found around 3.5 miles from the location where he was last known to be at. Now, as far as that goes, I personally uh, can't see how this is a situation where it's not murder. And the reason for that is the circumstances surrounding how exactly he went missing. So Katrina had and Jesse Vang, Katrina Bauer and Jesse Vang were both taken into custody pretty early on in this case. Elijah had been last seen on February 20th at the residence in Two Rivers, and that is where his mother had sent him to stay with Jesse as punishment. He was sent there to be punished for being a 3-year-old, essentially. Her goal was to teach him to be a man. Now, with Katrina and Jesse, they had been arrested for child neglect charges because they had left Elijah's sister in the vehicle while they were doing who knows what. And that led to neglect charges and things of that nature. Now, throughout the documents, we did hear about the incident on February 12th. She had sent Elijah to stay with Jesse so that he could teach him to be a man. She had intended to pick him up on February 23rd. On February the 20th, Jesse Vang had called police and reported Elijah missing, telling them that he had taken a nap that morning. He brought Elijah into the bedroom with him, and when he awoke 3 hours later, Elijah was gone. Now, mind you, he, prior to Elijah disappearing, had put his child on the bus that morning and then allegedly locked the door on his way back in. It was a high up lock, and Elijah, whenever he woke, was disappeared. Um, Now we know from police documents that there were pictures of Elijah being duct taped, pictures of him with bruises all over his body, some of the different types of punishments that Jesse was performing to Elijah. He would leave him in his soiled diaper for long periods of time. He was not allowed to play with any toys. He was not allowed to have milk because they were trying to wean him off of a bottle. And they were trying to teach him to be a man. He was made to stand in the corner and pray over and over again about becoming a man and about learning and growing up. Essentially, I mean, they were torturing this child. They were literally torturing this child. Katrina was fully aware of it. We know that Jesse had sent her pictures of Elijah's abuse. She was fully aware of it. We also know that at whatever time it was that Katrina came over, I want to say it was around 2 or so in the morning, that she was supposed to be coming over to visit, quote unquote, with Jesse. And during that visit, they had locked Elijah up so that he wouldn't see her coming and going, because part of his punishment was not being allowed to have contact with his mother, not being allowed to see her. And so all of this stuff was going on. So at this point has Katrina at this point has made a statement or released a statement. Let me pull this up. Through her lawyers, following the knowledge of finding out that Elijah is in fact deceased. So here we go. Let me pull this up.
Homeschooling can foundationally and wonderfully change families.
Sorry, that was a very loud ad.
The mother of Elijah Vu, speaking now for the first time from jail after her son's remains were identified last week. Toddler Elijah Vu was initially reported missing on February 20th after he was sent to spend time with his mother's boyfriend as punishment. His mother, Katrina Bauer, and her boyfriend, Jesse Vang, seen here, face charges of felony child neglect in Elijah's disappearance. Bauer is also accused of obstructing police. Bauer remains behind bars, though both she and her boyfriend pleaded not guilty to charges, and their cases are still working through the justice system. But following the identification of her son's remains, Bauer releasing a statement through her attorney to our sister station in Green Bay. It says in part, quote, that she's devastated by the news and that she had continued to have hope that her little boy would be found alive. At this time, she is mourning the loss of her son. Bauer's next court appearance is in October.
So this right here, it just it frustrates me to no end. I am sure as a parent, both Harmony's mother Crystal and Katrina, so in some way, shape, or form, do have that feeling of loss, right? Because they have lost a child that they carried in their wombs, that they birthed, that they brought into this world. They have lost this child. I mean, I know that it hurts me, and I'm just a nobody from Pennsylvania and have no I've never met Elijah, I've never met Harmony, I've never bathed them or taken care of them or read them stories. I've never, spent time with them or played with them or built blocks, like none of those things. And so I'm sure in that aspect that these parents are probably grieving in some way, shape, or form. But for her to say that she is devastated by the news that he was found deceased and that she had continued to hope that he would be found alive, I just don't understand the circumstances in which she honestly thought or cared enough about him to put him in this home where he was being abused, to put him with this man who was doing such horrific things to him, she sending her pictures of abuse and things like that. Did she honestly think that he just wandered out of that house? And don't get me wrong, at this point, we have no proof otherwise because we are still waiting on autopsy results. We are still waiting on evidence that this is murder. And I hope to God that his remains were found in a condition that they're able to prove that, just so that justice can hit Jesse Vang and Katrina for what has happened. I think that she should be held just as accountable for the crimes that have been committed against this child if there were crimes committed. And that in no way, shape, or form does she have the right, in my opinion, to be, you know, upset. I mean, you left him with a monster. What did you think was going to happen? And so it just surprises me that this is her response. I mean, did she honestly think, or is this just the lawyer coming out and saying, "Oh, she hoped that he would be found alive"? I mean, in what circumstance would he still be alive? He had been missing since February 20th. So in that aspect, did she think that Jesse had done something else to him? Did she think that, because we know that there was trafficking type situations that she had escaped from that Jesse was involved with allegedly? Did she think that something like that was going on? Was that the thought in her mind? Like, in what aspect did she think that there was a possibility to have hope for him to still be alive? This is a 3-year-old, not a man. They did not teach him to survive on his own. They did not, he didn't even have the ability to, he wasn't even potty trained. He wasn't even potty trained. And so, in what world do you think that he just wanders out of the home and is able to survive for this many months? It's just not something that's possible. It's really just not. And so, I'm just shocked, honestly, that they had the audacity, I guess, to release this statement. And I really, really hope that the hammer of the justice system falls heavily on her and Jesse. This child did absolutely nothing to deserve the way that he had been treated for his entire life. Wow. Third skull, it says. Third set of human remains found at the National Forest. Stuff about Asha. I just wanted to see if there was anything else down there. I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are on the lawyer releasing a statement, though, about Katrina, like, hoping that her child would be found alive. Did anybody think it was possible that Elijah, I know that there was a lot of people who were speculating that possibly it could have been a trafficking type situation. But as they were finding different items such as his blanket, his shoes, things of that nature, it really just started to point the other direction. Mm. So let me share this. This is from whenever his remains were actually found by hunters nearly 7 months after the Wisconsin tot vanished from police. Yeah, there. He's such a precious baby. I can't stand, I don't understand the evil that is in this world. I never will. So it says a skull and other human remains have been identified as missing Wisconsin toddler Elijah Vu, police announced Friday. The remains were discovered by a deer hunter on private property in a heavily wooded area of Two Rivers on Saturday, about 3 miles northwest of where the 3-year-old was first reported missing on February 20th. It's with a heavy heart that I announce with you today those remains were identified as Elijah Vu. With that news and the following briefing, the Amber Alert will be canceled. That last photo of him in that local auto shop 4 days before he disappeared. The last public photo, anyways, I should say. We know that there were other pictures taken since then of the abuse that was going on. So after Elijah vanished, the investigators said they strongly believe that he was still in the vicinity of Two Rivers City or the surrounding areas, which search parties painstakingly scoured. During one search, the boy's blanket was discovered. The area where Elijah's remains were found had been searched several times by law enforcement, private searches and landowner aerial searches, and various search and rescue teams. The bones were discovered as law enforcement was pushing another search for the boy next week. After the remains were confirmed to be human, they were taken to the Wisconsin Crime Lab for DNA testing, which confirmed the identity of Vu. The boy's family was immediately notified. This is not the outcome that we hoped for. The family is devastated. We're devastated. Our community is devastated. I never met Elijah, but I watched the 3-year-old boy bring out the best in his community, he said, choking up. The chief said the investigation is expected to take some time until it's completed. I think one of the biggest red flags for me is the area that the blanket was discovered, um, versus where he was found. The blanket was found the complete opposite direction. And again, I don't think that there's a possibility that this 3-year-old crossed the river and dropped his blanket one location and then wandered somewhere else and died. Now, do I think that they possibly left his remains somewhere so that they could pretend that he wandered off? Yes, I do. I think that that's probably the more likely situation. Let me share these. So this is the area that he went missing from for those of you guys who may not be as familiar. And then his remains were found over in this area. His blanket, however, was found, I want to say it was like down over in this area. Like it made a triangle. But again, he would have had to cross the river to end up down here where his blanket was found, like on a road barrier, before going up here and finally finding himself deceased. Hi, Red Rock. How are you? Hi, Lioness. Hi, Kim. So, I don't know. It's just frustrating. And then we move into Harmony Montgomery's case. So, those of you guys who followed the trial and the case with Harmony with me throughout, put a one in the chat if you guys followed that here. A lot of you know from following Harmony's case that it is one of those cases that I probably got too close to. Um, I was in contact with the the adopted dads for Jameson throughout the case. Obviously, I had been in contact with other locals as well that were giving me different information about the background for Harmony, and were sharing different details about things that were going on, some of which I've never made public. And so it's one of those cases that really just deeply, not even just cases, Harmony herself has deeply impacted my life and my thoughts on how I cover these cases, the things that we discuss, the way that we look at the cases and things like that. I've changed my viewpoint many times over the last couple years. And one of the reasons is because of Harmony's case. It frustrates me to no end the amount of failure that surrounds this child. Um, Between her and Ariel Sellers, aka Isabella Kalua, they are a huge part of the reason that I cover so many cases that involve the CPS, CWS, DCYF, whatever the system is called in your area. I cover so many cases that involve that organization because the organization itself is broken. The organization itself needs to be demolished from the ground up and completely rebuilt in a way that it can keep children safe, so that we cannot have another Harmony Montgomery, so that we cannot have another Isabella Kalua, aka Ariel Sellers, so that we cannot have another Khaleesi Cuthrell, so that we cannot have another Angel Nicole Overstreet. There's just too many children that have been utterly failed. And in this case, with Harmony, one of the biggest failures that took place was from her mom. Her mom has gotten every chance based off of the the DCYF reports that we have read through in detail on this yeah, based off of the detailed reports that we heard throughout her murder trial. She was given every opportunity to get her life clean, sober, and to make sure that she could get her children back and keep them back with her. All she had to do was walk away from the drugs. And it's not simple. I know that people who struggle with addiction have that issue. And I agree completely in this case that New Hampshire did fail Harmony Montgomery. Let me make it clear. I also agree that Adam Montgomery is the person who directly caused Harmony Montgomery's death. What I don't agree with is the fact that Crystal Sorey has now filed a wrongful death lawsuit that she will eventually financially gain from the fact that she failed to be a mother, from the fact that she failed to care for her child properly, from the fact that she failed to ensure that she was clean, sober, and able to care for her children. She has filed a lawsuit against the state of New Hampshire. Do I think that DCYF and the people involved in this case should be held accountable? Absolutely. Do I think the judge in this state should be held accountable for their actions? Absolutely. Do I think years, in a million years, that Crystal Sorey should ever financially gain from the death of her child because of her failures to be a parent in the first place? No. No. I could never get on board with that. And I don't care who gets mad about what I'm saying. I could care less because this is a situation where this mom continuously, she had multiple chance. Harmony Montgomery spent more time in the foster care system than she ever did with her own family. More time throughout her entire life was spent with her foster parents in the state's care and things like that. And the only thing that they did wrong was returning her back to her family once again so that she could die. The failure to investigate the crimes that were being reported over and over again against this child. So, this is the lawsuit that she filed. Hold on one second. So let me read down through this article with you guys. It says in a wrongful death lawsuit, Harmony Montgomery's mother alleges negligence by New Hampshire officials. I can agree. They were negligent. Should Crystal Sorey profit? No. The mother of Harmony Montgomery has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the state of New Hampshire, alleging systematic failures in the state's child protection system. Crystal Sorey's lawsuit comes 9 months after Harmony's father, Adam Montgomery, was convicted of beating his 5-year-old daughter to death in 2019. Her body had never been recovered. I think that the fact that Harmony's remains still have not been recovered, I also blame that partially on Crystal. She waited until the adoptive parents of Jameson pushed her, completely pushed her to search for her daughter, completely pushed her to try to make contact with her daughter, pushed her to report the fact that she couldn't make contact. And otherwise, nobody would have ever looked for Harmony. Nobody would have ever known that this child was missing if it wasn't for Jameson and the Millers. Period. They would never have known because she did not care. She did not care to make contact. She did not care to search for her daughter. She did not care if her daughter was alive and well. And had she been actively trying to pursue getting her daughter back or see her daughter or any of those things, had she reported it right off the bat that Adam had started withholding visitation or withholding phone calls or whatever, had she been following this close enough to know that she was being punched in the face and that she was being beaten and neglected and all of those things and continued to follow up with her, not wait several years, we likely would know where Harmony Montgomery is. I mean, think about it this way. Adam carried this child's remains around with him for months. If Crystal would have lifted a finger during any of those months that was going on to look for her daughter at that point, to try to see her daughter at that point, then we would know where Harmony was. They likely would have caught him with Harmony in his custody still. I mean, months he toted her around from place to place, from job site to job site, from I mean, come on, guys. The lawsuit seeks monetary damages and answers from the state of New Hampshire surrounding Harmony's disappearance and death. Sorey's lawyer, Russ Riley, who won in May, won a $38 million judgment against the state for David Meehan, one of hundreds who say they were physically and sexually abused at the state's youth detention center. We are going to hold the state of New Hampshire accountable for Harmony's senseless and preventable death, Riley said in an email announcing the lawsuit. Too many vulnerable children are being injured and killed while under the watchful eye of the state. It has been happening for way too long, and something needs to be done to stop it. Enough is enough. This suit notes multiple people raised concerns with New Hampshire's Division of Children and Youth Families about Harmony's welfare after Massachusetts judge placed in her custody of placed her in the custody of Adam Montgomery of 2019. According to the lawsuit, Harmony lived with her mother in Massachusetts after she was born in 2014. A Massachusetts judge awarded Adam Montgomery custody in February of 2019. They make it sound like she lived with Crystal up until then. She didn't. Newsflash, she didn't. She only lived with Crystal for a couple months at a time. Period. She was in and out of the foster care system 3 times before she went back with Adam. She spent more time in state custody than she ever did with Crystal. Sorey said she was struggling with drugs at the time. Massachusetts officials worked with New Hampshire DCYF, placing the child with Adam Montgomery in Manchester. Within months of the lawsuit alleges multiple people made reports to DCYF expressing concern that Harmony was being abused. In 2020, Governor Chris Sanu released a report that said that the state child welfare worker contacted Adam Montgomery in 2020 asking about where Harmony was living. Montgomery told the worker that Harmony was living with Sorey. The state left a message for Sorey but never followed through. Sorey's lawsuit alleges that the state report on their handling of her daughter's case includes inaccuracies and omissions in its recitation of the facts, which collude to the downplay of DCYF's negligence and the myth to mislead the public. I'm sorry, Crystal, but you have done nothing but lie since the beginning of this case. And so I'm going to probably side with DCYF and their records and say that you probably did not respond to that message. They should have continued to call you. They should have come to your house to check. They should have followed up. And they did fail in the fact that they did not do that. But the audacity to try to sue and to try to financially profit off of your daughter. You know, if she were to be doing this lawsuit and say, hey, all proceeds are going to, I don't know, a trust for Jameson or some type of nonprofit program to help cases like this stop happening or to some type of change or something, right? But it's not. This is simply a way for Crystal Sorey to cash in on her daughter's death, and it's extremely, extremely frustrating. You see, WMUR has a post out as well. Okay. Let's see what WMUR says. Okay. So, let's see.
Is serving 56 years in prison for the murder of 5-year-old Harmony Montgomery. But Harmony's biological mother, Crystal Sorey, says there were other parties who played a role in her daughter's death. The Division for Child, Youth, and Families was responsible for monitoring Harmony's well-being while she was living with Adam. Harmony's body was never found, but a judge granted Sorey's request to declare Harmony legally dead. Now she's suing the state for wrongful death.
What they're essentially trying to show is that had DCYF not violated that duty of care that they owed to Harmony, that she would still be alive today.
Sorey's complaint details numerous times when she claims DCYF staff failed to respond to signs of abuse and safety concerns in the Montgomery household.
DCYF had a duty of care, and through their negligence, they breached this duty of care that they owed to Harmony Montgomery. That's essentially the basis of the lawsuit.
It's too late for Harmony, but Sorey says she wants to make it very clear that the state can do better when it comes to protecting children. Her lawyer saying too many vulnerable children are being injured and killed while under the watchful eye of the state. It has been happening for way too long, and something needs to be done to stop it.
Look, I want to bring up a case that we're also looking at recently, and we have been looking into, especially since the trial for Harmony, and that is Dennis Bouvon. He also lost his life in this DCYF system, and this is one of those cases that it doesn't get talked about very much Let me pull up his picture real quick. Dennis Bouvon also lost his life in this state. Also lost his life to the hands of the person that was supposed to be taking care of him. You know, his grandmother was charged with his death just recently. We covered the court hearing, or the her being arrested, and the first court hearing after she was arrested after years. We're talking 5 years. Also 2019 is when Dennis Bouvon was unalived at the hands of Sherry Connor. The system is broken. The system does need completely rebuilt. There are too many times whenever people have reported abuse. But do you know what the big difference between Dennis Bouvon and Harmony Montgomery is? The big difference is Dennis's mom was the one reporting the abuse. Dennis's mom was the one standing there saying, "This woman beat me as I was growing up and was horrible to me as I was growing up, and you guys put him in her custody and she's going to hurt him." This woman sat here and she left a voicemail on her own daughter's phone of her screaming at the children and abusing them, and the mom called it in. The mom called it in multiple times, suspected abuse, bruises that she was seeing. I think it was 27 reports had been made within just like a couple weeks span, if I'm remembering correctly, by mom. Where was Crystal Sorey through all of this? Uncle Kevin did what he could while he lived there. He called, I think 3 times Uncle Kevin called and reported Harmony's abuse. The problem is, whenever you're not a parent, it's harder to get through the cracks in the system. Crystal Sorey, by rights, could have went there and taken Harmony or stopped Adam. Like, she had never lost full custody. She had never signed away her parental rights of Harmony. She still had the parental right to deal with the care. She could have fought for custody back off of Adam once she was clean and sober. She could have been sitting there advocating for her daughter, and she didn't do any of that. She didn't do any of that. And so, yes, this system is broken. It is completely and totally broken. And I will not say that it is working in any way, shape, or form. There are way too many children that are failed by the system, whether it's in this case where they were returned to, or in Harmony's case where she was returned back to her biological family who killed her, in Ariel Sellers' case, who was murdered after she was adopted, and Dennis Vaughn's case where he was murdered in state custody under the care of his grandmother. In oh goodness, why can I not think of the other little Elijah Wood? Is it Elijah or Elijah? Hold on, let me pull it up. Elijah Lewis. Elijah Lewis also killed, should have been taken away, right? Should have been taken away. But my point is, it happens in foster care. It happens after adoption. It happens whenever it's the people who are returned to their family. Look at Oakley Carlson's for that case. Look at Classic and Sincere, aka Orrin and Orson West. You know, it's a consistent problem where these kids have no follow-up care. They have no one checking on them to make sure that they're okay. The social workers themselves are overworked, underpaid, and we keep throwing money at a program that does not work. It does not work. And so I'm not saying that the state system did anything right by Harmony. I agree that the state system completely failed. But I am sick to my stomach knowing that me agreeing that the system is failing these children is going to lead to this cow getting her pockets lined, and she does not deserve it. And it's just infuriating to me. Oh, surprise, we're live. I sent you a message. Yeah, too many children lost in the system. Elijah Vu, right. Broken is an understatement. Elijah Vu is the same situation. Mom had lost custody of them at some point. These kids that have touched this system, these kids who have had to be removed because they have been found to be in abusive type situations, whether they are returned, put in foster care, or adopted, need to have follow up. There needs to be a system in place of checks and balances that is nowhere near the DCYF. I'm sorry, but they can't handle it. They can't handle it. We need mandated reporters. I have said something about, mental health. If they were doing mental health checkups on Dennis Vaughn, if they were doing mental health checkups on Harmony Montgomery to make sure that she was still happy, healthy, clean, being taken care of, if she was required to do biweekly therapy sessions with a mandated reporter, would Harmony Montgomery have stayed in that home long enough to be deceased? Would Ariel Sellers, who was constantly being beaten and abused, had her hair chopped off just weeks after staying with the Kaluas, within 6 weeks already had a black and blue eye, within 6 weeks had bruises all over her arms, within 6 weeks of going to live there, within 2 years was skin and bones with a broken leg that had not been healed properly because she had never received treatment, limped her way into the courthouse in order to get put into adoptive custody of the Kaluas, and never had anyone take the complaints seriously, never had anyone do follow-up care for Ariel Sellers. She went from this to this in a short period of time. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Oakley Carlson, same type of situation. No follow-up care. Nobody knows where she went. Nobody knows what the heck happened to her. And here we are in a situation where child after child after child who has touched this system is being murdered at the hands of the people who were supposed to take care of them. Murdered at the hands of the people who were supposed to be advocating for their care and advocating for them to be okay. And look, I'm going to bring this case up. Sebastian Rogers also has had CPS, CWS, DCYF, also has had those types of authorities called on his family too. Where's the follow-up care to make sure that Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers was okay? Where is the follow-up care to make sure that Summer Wells was okay after she remained in her home with her biological parents? Where is it? Where is the follow-up? And this is where the system is broken, because we're losing these children, child after child, and we have no clue where they're going or why. And if it's a runaway situation, why did they run away? What made them have to run away, right? Look at Cody Bigsby, another case. Should have never been in the custody of his father. Was being left alone to care for himself, murdered at the hands of his father. It's just so many cases, guys. So many children, so many times that we have talked about this. But does that mean that a mother who failed to get herself clean, who failed to keep her child out of this system, who failed to be the parent that she committed to being whenever she went through with that pregnancy and did not put her up for adoption, she failed. Does she now get a potentially $30 million check? The check that this lawyer has gotten somebody in the past, $35 million? Does Crystal Sorey deserve even a penny? After failing her daughter, I'm just mind blown that this is the reality that we're living in right now, that you could just utterly and completely fail your own flesh and blood to this extent to where they end up deceased in the hands of the people who were supposed to protect them, ended up brutalized and desecrated time and time again. And her mom never looked for her. And now she's getting money. The system failed, yes. But does that mean that Crystal Sorey needs money? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I so wish that I could be sitting there for this verdict. Once it comes through, once this goes to court, and once they actually look into this. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. It's mind-blowing to me. I don't think she deserves money any more than I think that Christina Bauer should get money someday, or any more than I think that, Oakley's family or Summer's family. And no, I'm sorry, they were all failed by the system. Does that mean that every time a child is failed by the system, that there should be a payout to that family that also failed that child? No, I can't. I can't even. Your husband and I adopted a baby from a meth mom. CPS needs to focus on the well-being of the children. The birth mom had a good heart, sense to know she was unable to give him a good home. Listen, I know plenty of children who have been adopted. It's something that I hope someday, once my children are grown and out of my home, and I know this sounds crazy because I am hands full of kids right now and doing all the sports and activities and things like that, but I have a lot of love in my heart. And someday I hope to be able to pull a child out of the system and give them the happiness and the life that they need, to give them the love and care that they have never gotten. And someday, once I have room in my home, that'll be my goal. um and so I think that there are amazing people out there who adopt and who foster children and who have the right reasons behind their thought process of wanting to do those things. You look at the Millers, for example. The Millers have adopted three beautiful children for no reason other than to extend their life and to provide love to children, to people outside of themselves, right? And and but here's the situation. There are also, on the other side of that coin, there are people like the West out there, Orrin and Orson West, Classic and Sincere. There are people like that that are just getting these kids cash for kids. The Kaluas, cash for kids situation. All they wanted was a paycheck. They had no interest in loving or caring or the purpose behind having the children. They just wanted that paycheck to support their lifestyles and to I, essentially just to just to pay their bills so they didn't have to work, I guess. To be negligent parents where they ended up murdering their children. So, I mean, this is where the follow-up needs to come from, because I don't think that CPS as an agency, I don't think that they have the capabilities. I know from speaking directly to workers in several of these different states. I know from having a close friend who is a social worker. I know that we're looking at, depending on your state and depending on the agency, the average caseload. Let me see if it's changed since last year, because the last time I looked this up, the average caseload was around 90 cases on their desk per week. Per week. How can you do a home visit to 90 children in 40 hours every week? You can't. I'm sorry, you can't, but that gives you less than a half hour per kid. If you're going just straight from kid to kid to kid, that's not enough time. And guess what? Some states, it was 110. New Hampshire at the time, whenever I looked this up, was on average 110 cases per week that these people were having to look at. So if you take that into consideration and then you want to add something like follow-up care onto them, it's impossible. They already need their load lightened, and it's not happening. And I'm going to say this, we have videos on this channel also. It's not a funding issue. Sounds counterproductive because I'm saying that they're underpaid and they're overworked, but it has nothing to do with not getting the state and federal funding. Most states report a surplus in their CPS funding, and then those state representatives take that CPS funding and they utilize it in different areas of their government budget instead of improving and fixing their CPS systems. Tell me that's not messed up. It's wrong. It's completely wrong. But it happens. It happens in every state. Let me see if I can pull up that video. It happens in every state throughout our country. Every single one. And it's frustrating. Very frustrating. But it's something that I've been very passionate about. Let me show you this. So this is outdated because I made this video 2 years ago. So let me pull this up. So this is outdated. I don't know what the new numbers are right now. But if you look, let me make it a little bit bigger. If you look, for example, at just the top couple states, okay? You're looking at Alabama. Go to the most recent. 2020 was the most recent at the time that I made this video. This number is what they consider their profit from just this one type of funding for the CPS. So that's what they're saying they have received over and above in funding from the federal grants that they are receiving, over and above. And then they take this money and they use it in other areas of their budget instead of improving that CPS system. Instead of fixing it, they count it as surplus and they pull it out of their budget and they put it somewhere else. So this is the totals from, like, I think just this is, let me see, this is just the adoption and legal guardianship incentive program. That's the figures that we're looking at on this video specifically. So this is money that they considered over and above for their adoption program. So 1,761,000 in 2020 was considered excess in Alabama in 2020. I doubt it. I guarantee you that there is things that they could have changed or fixed that was like they could have put that $1 million. Maybe they could have gave their employees pay raises so that people weren't so overworked and underpaid, right? But no, they pocket the money, they move it to other areas of their government, and that's just what they do. That's just what they do. And that's just one type of grant. There are several grants that each state gets towards their adoption and their towards the CWS program for the kids who are actually in foster care in the system and things like that. Yeah, your friend has so many cases she can't keep them straight. It's horrible. You raised your grandchildren because your son and his girlfriend got into drugs. Your son's been clean for 12 years now. That's awesome, Kiki's eyes. I'm glad that he got clean. It's a journey. It's a journey. Hi, Chopper. How are you? Good to see you. So I don't know. I get so frustrated. I get so frustrated whenever I talk about Crystal Sorey, and it's my personal opinions about her case and about, the things about Harmony's case and her involvement in it. And a lot of it comes from knowledge that I know from behind the scenes that I haven't necessarily ever made public, and honestly doesn't need to be made public. But the problem is, in a million years, this woman does not deserve a penny. Yeah, it's another thing. Where's the money going? Because it isn't going to make changes or make things better. If she wins this lawsuit against the government, it hurts the government more. It doesn't fix a thing. Now, there's a book coming out in the case of Harmony Montgomery. Hold on one second. I got to. Okay, sorry. In the case of Harmony Montgomery, the Millers have gotten together. That's Jameson's adopted parents, and they have gotten together with see here. Their goal is to change the system, right? You don't see the Millers out there fundraising and suing or trying to make money off of this. Their goal is to change the system. So they have wrote a book with Carol Erskine, and she was, let me see, it says murder was introduced to our son Jameson when his beautiful sister Harmony Montgomery was murdered by her monster of a father. But so many other government officials are to blame too. They could have prevented this. They have done nothing to prevent another Harmony Montgomery from happening. Nothing. They have done nothing to protect the most vulnerable children in New England. We continue to fight for change as Jameson's two adopted dads. Blair and I won't let Harmony's voice be silenced. A Cruel Injustice was written by Justice Carol Erskine, and as Jameson's dads, in our own words, will be released on September 26th of 2024. All proceeds will support the Dave Thomas for Adoption Foundation. We are forever grateful to all of the love and support you have shown Jameson and Harmony. Like, this this could be something that she does. Are you going to support an adoption foundation or a foundation who speaks out against this? So Carol commented on this. She said the cover is designated to or designed to reflect the cruelty and torment suffered by Harmony and to also reflect the cruelty to other children in the system that are being abused and ignored. She has incensed every abused child. There are hundreds of pictures of Harmony on the internet and several in the book, but this story is about sending a message to the way she and others are mistreated in the child welfare system, and the cover reflects that message. So, what can you do to help? One of the things that we discuss on this channel in the past, and that I always try to bring up whenever I talk about the failed systems and and these children who are consistently failed by the CPS system, you can become a CASA. So, what CASA is, for those of you guys who don't know, they are a court appointed special advocate that volunteer. And some of the things that you do with them is you, hold on one second. I'll pull up the right website. So this website here is voicesforcasachildren.org. If you guys are interested in becoming a CASA, you can do this by going to your local state on this website, and you can learn how to become a CASA volunteer. Essentially, what a CASA volunteer does is you go and you speak with the children, you help advocate for the children inside of the court system, and make sure that the child themselves are who is focused on in the situation. So, in order to become a CASA, you do have to fill out the online application. You do have to perform a background check, obviously, to make sure that the person that is becoming a CASA is, not a creep or a pedophile or a child abuser themselves. Um, let's see. So you do have to have an in-person interview. You do have to attend training. Now it says that applicants will be eligible to register for 2-day state office training in the 4-hour county program training. So it doesn't even sound like it's very long. You can get sworn in as a CASA and then you can get started helping different children. So consider becoming a CASA to help out the children in your local area so that they can have a volunteer with them. Let me see if I can find the actual description of a CASA real quick. Wait, it's not just me saying random information. Why is this not working? Okay, so what does the CASA volunteer and what do they do? A court appointed specialist volunteer is a unique and extremely important role that serves to help preserve the well being of children in foster care. CASAs are always needed. Always needed. There are so many children that go through and never have a CASA with them. So they have different videos that you can watch.
Hello and welcome. Today we're going to walk you through
Switched over to this screen and I didn't realize it didn't switch you guys. Sorry.
they draw upon a preconceived vision. Perhaps they envision a troubled teen or a rambunctious youth. But the truth is, these children come from all walks of life and from all age groups, from newborns to teenagers. They're found in preschool, elementary school, junior high, and high school. These youth are living all throughout our community. What's more is that these children tend to be good, happy children, but through no fault of their own, they have been removed from their homes as a means to protect them, keep them safe, and put what's in their best interest as a priority. The children who need a CASA are in the care of the Arizona Department of Child Safety. They may be living in foster care, a group home, or have a kindred or family placement. These youth have experienced trauma due to abuse or neglect and are facing further trauma from the experience that is supposed to help and protect them. Regardless of what has happened, these are youth who want to be with their families, their siblings, their pets, their friends. They may struggle to acclimate to their new surroundings, which is filled with strangers and may be culturally very different. These youth may also be doubting themselves. Any help or guidance for these children can be extremely beneficial in supporting their continued development and to preserve their self-esteem. We know these children matter so much, and we need to lift them up and ensure they're seen, heard, and allowed to thrive. That's where a CASA volunteer comes in. They give these children hope and comfort while the parents, DCS, court, and others do what is necessary to make sure the child can be in a permanent, safe, and loving home. CASA volunteers become a pillar of support these children can depend on during the entire process. There are thousands of these children in Arizona, with the largest percentage residing in Maricopa County. Most are removed due to issues involving abuse or neglect. For example, poverty and life stresses can strain a mom or dad to the point where bad decisions are made, resulting in drug abuse and an unsafe environment for the child. Physical and emotional abuse still occurs far too often in our communities. Currently, there are around 8,000 children in foster care in Maricopa. That's 8,000 children that need a champion by their side. However, there are just over 1,000 children that have a CASA volunteer to advocate for their best interest. That leaves thousands of children without an advocate's support, and because of that, there's a constant need for new CASA volunteers.
So they have this YouTube page though, and let me see if I can get the link for this. There it is. Just a wonderful program. Hi, Seal. Somebody throw her a tardy slip. We're actually getting ready to end. I do have to work in a few minutes, but I wanted to come on and talk about all this because I just was frustrated this morning reading the different articles, just to be honest. Where do we buy the book? So I'm not sure if you're a member of the Facebook group, Harmony Montgomery's New Hampshire / Missing Children. But the Millers did post it there. It is called A Cruel Injustice. A Cruel Injustice. It does not go on sale until September the 26th. I want to say Amazon would probably be a good area to look to purchase it. I'm sure the Millers, though, if you're following them on Twitter or other social medias, will likely be posting the links and things like that once it's available. If you are a subscriber here, I'll also post it to my community page on the 26th once it comes available as well. So again, just I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to say. But here is the information about becoming a CASA. This is their YouTube page if you guys want to watch a couple other videos on this. But that particular video we just watched obviously was talking about the state of Arizona. We need CASAs everywhere, every community. So if you have the time, if you have a heart, and if you have the emotional stamina, I want to say, to be able to hear or talk to a child who has been through an abusive situation, consider becoming a CASA so that you can help out the children in your particular area and see. I should do this. So here's this one. This one says, "My why."
And I'm a volunteer court-appointed special advocate. I started volunteering in 2016. My corporate job just wasn't ticking all the boxes of self-fulfillment, to be honest. I wanted to do something that felt like I was making a difference, living with purpose. The more cases I've worked on, I've realized that it's my life experiences that really help me to relate to these kids. I had a fine childhood, but in my family, we've had issues with addiction, mental illness, abuse, incarceration. Because of that, I feel like I can be there for these kids in a way that maybe some people can't. It's not my job to fix these kids. It's not my job to fix their families. It's my job to notice what's going on and make recommendations based on my interaction as a voice for these children. I think my favorite thing is encouraging these kids to just get out there in the world, to help them see that good things and opportunities and fun stuff is for them, not just other kids. That every day is a chance for them to choose something good for themselves. To find out more about being a volunteer, visit us at voicesforcasachildren.org.
So there you have it. So I'll go ahead and end there on a positive note. There's so many kids, guys. There's so many kids that need this help. And it's not just Elijah. It's not just Harmony. It's so many. So many. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, see, I'll definitely rewatch. I got definitely a little bit fired up this morning, but I can't help it. I'm done. A lot of you guys who have been following me, you've probably noticed some of the changes recently, especially. I'm done hiding my personal views. I'm done hiding my personal opinions and the things that I think and feel to tiptoe around anyone. I'm done. And so I have to be outspoken. Have to. So, anyways, all right, I'm gonna go. I gotta get ready for work, and I will talk to you all later. I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope to see you guys later on tonight. Today is Wednesday, and so we should be live with Locomai. I have to talk to her. I know we missed the last couple weeks because of my busy schedule. So hopefully tonight, though, we are able to get together and do a live stream on something. So I will talk to you all later. Bye.